Good morning, everyone. I am super thrilled to be back doing a Technique Tuesday live. I almost couldn't do it today because my kids almost had a snow day after being home for so long. It's Krista Ritzkis with Simply Creating, and I'm so thrilled to have time again to do a Technique Tuesday. And we're going to talk, it's probably going to be a little bit more simple today, and probably not as long. If you're watching live, say hi. I don't always get to see your reactions because of the way my phone is set up, but I do see your comments, so I'd love to see those. Storage is one of the things that crafters have probably the largest issue with. Am I right? We start to collect all of these wonderful supplies and then we have no idea what is the best way to store them. And sometimes we come up with baskets. Hi, Debbie. We come up with baskets and bins, and sometimes those don't work real well because we can't take them with us to a crop. And I know that right now in our part of the world, crops are not happening. But there are some really easy ways to store some of this stuff, and one of the things that I want to talk about today is thin cuts and embossing folders. And I have found a solution that I think will work for everyone, and it's also portable, so that's great. So I see that there's some of you live. Make sure you say hi. I'm so excited to see you back here at Technique Tuesday. So we have our embossing folders. This one happens to be, I think, called Spring Blossoms. These are a larger size. We did have some smaller ones for a little bit, but they're back large again. And I take them out of the packaging. I don't keep the packaging, and this is how I have them. Maybe you have embossing folders of varying sizes and you wonder how to store them. So I'm going to talk about those in a sec. We also have our thin cuts, which are metal dies that come with stamp sets like this. So most of our stamp sets have the stamp on the front of the envelope. If you are buying a stamp plus thin cuts, you have this on the front of the envelope, and I keep it this way so that I can see. And not only that, but the top of the label is black, so I store this with the rest of my stamps. And if I'm looking for a stamp that I want to have use a stamp that uses thin cuts, I can very easily see that the top of the label is black, and so it's super easy to see those differently than the rest of my stamps. Now, one thing I want to highlight, you'll notice I have some little pieces that are extra. I keep them with the stamp set. If I'm going to cut out a bunch of images from this and I just have all the metal dies on my plate at the same time, I just crank them out and I throw them back in with the stamp set. What I do though, and some people don't do this, so I have my stamp set facing this way, and then I have my thin cuts facing the label, so that when I'm just using the stamp, it's a whole lot easier to pull it in and out, and the foam that comes with our stamps doesn't get caught on the thin cuts. So that makes it a whole lot easier to get in and out. And I'm doing it kind of a weird way because I'm on camera. So this just slides in the back and it can be put back away with the rest of my stamps. So that is how I do. Hi Joanne, watching while working. Oh, I won't keep you too long. So this is the way I keep any stamp that has thin cuts with it. They just stay together all the time. I don't separate them out whatsoever. Then we have our varying sizes of thin cuts, and Close to My Heart is kind of starting to come out with these bigger sized ones. We have these ones that are on a 4x6 magnetic sheet, and then we have these ones that are on a 6x6. I'm going to show you what I'm doing with those. First of all, I'm going to put that one aside, and I'm going to show you what I do with the embossing folders first. So we have these lovely 6x8, and I realize my camera is probably a little too close for you to get a full view of this, but we have a 6x8. They're called Everyday Life albums. They're kind of squishy, like they have a bit of padding to them. I use a label holder, and I'll show you where those are in the catalog in a minute, so that I can see what album this is and what's in here. Now what you could do too is you could apply some Cricut heat transfer vinyl to the outside of these, and that works really well too. And what I have in here is just the 6x8 page protectors, or memory protectors, and I have 1 or 2 per page. And I used to throw on the name and the code and stuff. I kind of got lazy and I didn't do that anymore. But you'll see I have lots. These are from, most of them are retired, but I don't have as many of these as I do my thin cuts. And so this one, for example, we'll just slide right in there. And there we go. And I'm going to store it this way, not this way, so that all of the embossing folders just stay in their pockets really nicely at the tip, the edge of the pocket. All right, thin cuts. These ones are probably more challenging because they are so heavy once you get them all together. But this is my Everyday Life album, and you'll see it says Thin Cuts Current. So this one is full of current thin cuts we sell right now, or that we sold in since the I guess the probably September, October catalog, and it is full. I need another one actually. And I have a combination of pages in here. So this is a 6x8. This particular thin cut had 3 pieces to it, so it just stays together, and this was the instruction that came with it so that I could remember. And if I ever want to sell that set, I can put that with it again. Then we have some of these larger ones, and this is actually a 6x8 sheet. Let me see if I can get that up a little bit so you can see. I think I might have even trimmed it down a little bit to make it fit into the sleeve, and then I could also repurpose the magnetic sheet so that I can get more dies. These came on a smaller piece, I think. Then I've got these 2 4x6 ones, which obviously if it comes on a 4x6, you can just slide it right in there. You might have to trim off the side just slightly to make it fit better. On most of these, they're double-sided. I've actually got 1 piece of magnetic sheet in there, and I've got 2 pieces on there. So again, here's another example. I cut it, I didn't use it, I stuck it in with a thin cut so I can use it in the future. And so there's some empty ones here. I will often keep the label if it works out. Again, here's some longer border ones. So, and this one is a 6x6, and it stays in there just fine because it's got a bigger one there. And this one here is an idea I got from another maker who actually glued their magnetic sheet to a piece of cardstock so that this doesn't move around inside the page as much, because this will not fit in a 4x6. It's actually a larger, or it's the same 4 1/4 by 5.5 die, so it doesn't fit in there, but it stays nicely there. What's the other thing I wanted to show you? The other option you have, so this one I haven't done that to yet. It still moves around quite a bit, and that's why you want to put it on a piece of paper, as well as this one here. So for example, you've got, these divided pages, you're going to take this one and slide it right in. But let's just say you ordered this set. It comes on a 6x6. I haven't opened it yet. It has 2 sides to it. There's lots of dies there, but they are smaller. It's a large set. You can very easily divide it between these kind so that it's a bit more stable, and you don't have to put it in a larger pocket. That's my plan for this set, to divide it up. So this one here will go with the other sized ones, and that'll go in there. And again, I store these this way so that all the weight is, as this other maker said, evenly distributed between the rings. If you start storing it this way, you're going to put a lot of pressure on that top ring because it's so heavy. You could lie them flat, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having it labeled. So I've got it labeled. For these ones that are longer, I'm actually going to use an 8.5 by 11 album. I don't have any pages yet to put them in though. So that's a larger one and it'll fit really nicely. And I might even put a combination of things in this one. And we'll see what happens with that and how I fill that up. All right, so I wanted to show you where all this stuff is in the catalog. So let's look at the catalog for a minute. So this is page 90. These are 12 by 12, so I don't use those. This is the 8.5 by 11. It comes in 2 colors. And then we have the 6 by 8. This is the size I use for all of my thin cuts and embossing folders that are smaller. I guess if you wanted to, you could use a 6 by 6 album to store these. These would fit right into those 6 by 6 pages. So that's one solution for not having to deal with the larger 6 by 8 pages and putting them in cardstock and stuff like that. So there is that option. Here are the label holders that I'm using on the outside. And on the next page, sorry, 2 pages over, you're going to find all of the page protectors or memory protectors that we need. So they're right here. So 6 by 8, 6 by 8 design 1 are the 2 that are in the 6 by 8 album, and then there's the 6 by 6 if you wanted to use those. But those are the ones you want. So that is what I have for my Technique Tuesday this week. Next week we're going to get into some crafting, and I'm going to teach you a really cool technique that's patterned after one of the cards in the core catalog. All right, so I'm so excited to be back doing Technique Tuesdays, and I hope that this was helpful and that gave you kind of an idea of what you can do with our thin cuts and embossing folders and how to store them. Obviously, you can take those binders wherever you need to, and that keeps them nice and straight and not and off your desk, right? Off your desk. Put them on a shelf. All right, I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday and that you stay safe on the roads if you need to go out, and have a happy day and a great rest of the week. And we will see you right back here next week, Tuesday morning. All right. Bye, everybody.